Students, can you all see the slide over here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, as a continuation of the communicable diseases, so today we will be discussing about the dengue. So, it is general. Hello. Yeah. Dengue, it is also commonly referred to as what? Breakbone fever. So, why this particular term has been given? Because sometimes in MCQ they can ask you, like the synonym for dengue, or just they can start the question asking the following are the features of the breakbone fever. So why it is called as breakbone fever? Because it causes very severe pain, especially of the back or the vertebral pain. So that's why it's so severe pain, that's why it is called as breakbone fever, as if the bone is breaking and such type of pain will be felt. And the word dengue, so it is basically an African word, or it is a Sawali word where it means a sudden seizure by a demon. And the word breakbone fever has actually was termed after an epidemic of dengue in Philadelphia in 1780. And dengue is also called as what? Water poison. It is also called as what? Water poison according to the Chinese. And it is caused by which family of virus? It is caused by
Arbovirus.
arbovirus. This is very important. In MCQ, they can ask you. So, arbovirus means what? Arbo means what? Arthropod. So, these are the group of viruses which multiply. So, if there is an arthropod, so these are the viruses which multiply within the arthropod, and they can be transmitted with the help of this arthropod from the one individual to the another individual. And it belongs to the family Flaviviridae. So flavi means what? Something like yellowish color. So again in the Flaviviridae, it belongs to which group? It is group B. So this is very important to be remembered. And there are totally five serotypes of the dengue virus. So what are those five serotypes? 1, 2, 3, 4, and the fifth one, which was discovered in the year 2013. But as of now or till date, the very important one for us is which one, students? Dengue serotype 1, 2, 3, and 4. So these four serotypes are very important because during the vaccine production, these four serotypes will be used to give protection from this dengue. And it is a RNA group of virus, and it is a single stranded virus, and it is non-segmented. So as already we have understood that the viruses can be segmented or they can be non-segmented. So this dengue virus is a non-segmented RNA group of virus. And very important is that dengue serotype 2, that is den 2, is more virulent because it is most commonly linked with causing dengue
Dengue
hemorrhagic
hemorrhagic
fever.
fever.
So, like, which of the following is the most virulent? So, the option should be which one? The answer should be dengue virus serotype 2. And it is also most commonly linked with which one? Epidemic or the outbreaks. Then, first dengue outbreak or the epidemic was seen in Madras in the year 1780. So, these are some of the historical points. So, don't give much importance, just to know about these things. And very important is that at present, in India, the cases of dengue are in a rise. So it is like the cases are increasing year by year. So over the last decade, the cases are increasing. Now this dengue is transmitted by the vector. So what are the vectors over here? It is transmitted by with Aedes aegypti. It is a female mosquito, and it is also called as tiger mosquito. Why it is called as tiger mosquito? Students?
Ma'am,
Because it has black.
pattern of the body, ma'am, like body
Yeah, because
white
of the
white
pat.
patches.
Yeah, because of the white stripes, can you see here on its body, on its legs and all? Can you, Himanshu, Satvik, and others? Can you all
Yes,
see the white stripes over here?
yes, ma'am.
So, like, because of the presence of these white stripes, so this particular mosquito is also called as what? Tiger mosquito. And it is also caused by which one? Aedes albopictus. So, it is also called as what? Forest tiger mosquito, because in most of the Asian forest, so this particular Aedes albopictus mosquito is seen. It is also striped mosquito itself, but its presence is most confined to the what? Forest area. So if the question is asked, it is transmitted by which group of mosquitoes? Aedes aegypti is also correct, and even this one albopictus is also correct. It is also called as what? Forest tiger mosquito. And very important difference between these two, that is Egypti and the albopictus. What is the difference? Roshan, Himanshu, and others.
They bite
White
during
stripes, ma'am.
White stripes is the what feature of both of them, but the very important is that if this female Aedes aegypti, this lady is there, so she will suck the blood from multiple humans or the multiple host. So it will go and suck the blood from one human, another individual to complete its meal. To complete its blood meals, it sucks the blood from multiple people. Whereas this particular albopictus, it sucks the blood from only one host or the one individual, then it will fill up its stomach and that will be done for it. So what is the significance of these two things? So if at all it harbors this virus, if at all it harbors this dengue carrying virus, then what happens? Epidemic outbreak can be happening, and the cluster of cases will be more common with the Aedes aegypti, right? And whereas in albopictus, that cluster may not happen because only it sucks the blood from one individual and only this fellow will be infected. Whereas aegypti, Aedes aegypti, so this mosquito, it will suck the blood from one person, another person, so on. So multiple blood meal will be there for this female, so that what happens, there will be cluster of cases and it will create the what, endemic or epidemic outbreaks. Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Next, usually this mosquito, it bites in the daytime and it lays the eggs in the clean and stagnant water. As you all can see here, if at all any area or the somewhere where there is a clean water and it is stagnated, or in the tires where the water is stagnated, so these are the common areas where the mosquito will breed or it will lay its eggs. And what is the extensive incubation period in this mosquito? It is 7 days. For example, if this mosquito gets infected with the virus, that is a dengue causing virus, so its incubation period, that is 7 days. It is called as extrinsic incubation period. And once this mosquito is infected, then lifelong this mosquito will remain as a vector or the server of this particular dengue virus. Now, what are the clinical manifestations of this dengue fever? So, usually the incubation period, that is within the human, it is 3 to 14 days, very important. And most of the 80% of the cases, they remain asymptomatic. And clinically, it may manifest as dengue fever or the classical dengue fever. Yes, or it can manifest little bit to an adverse one, that is dengue hemorrhagic fever, or it may manifest in the most severe form, that is the dengue shock syndrome. Yes, in the dengue hemorrhagic fever, what are the clinical features? The patient usually complains of a very high fever, high temperature, and there will be headache. And very commonly, the patient will complain of the retroorbital pain. So there is some pain behind my eyes. So retroorbital pain, headache, and there will be entire myalgia, that is body ache will be there, arthralgia, and you can also see the rash, which is described as an island of white in a sea of red. So, students, can you tell me what is the nature of this rash? Can you see the picture over here? Students, Himanshu, Satvik, Roshan, others. Students, can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now see the nature of the rash over here. It is seen on the chest or the abdominal area. So you can see some whitish area over here. So it is like white island, and this white area is surrounded by the inflamed or the erythematous area. So that's why this particular rash is described as island of white in a sea of red. So this is the description of this particular dengue rash. Just see this because some, I mean, MCQ has been asked related to this rash also. So the center area will be white, periphery will be red, and there will be leukopenia. And then gradually, with the proper remedies, this particular dengue fever or classical fever will get into recovery. If not, and like advanced stage will be hemorrhagic part. So dengue hemorrhagic fever. The clinical features will be like of the above one, dengue fever, that is biphasic fever. Along with that, there will be positive tourniquet test. That means what? You tie a tourniquet to the patient and then you inflate the BP cuff, and then between the systolic and diastolic, in between that, till then you inflate and keep it for 5 minutes. Then after that, you can see some petechiae in the cubital fossa. So, like if at all there are more than 10 petechiae, if at all there are more than 10 petechiae, it is a confirmatory for dengue hemorrhagic fever. And if the petechiae are more than 20, if they are more than 20, then it is a confirmatory for which one, students? Dengue shock syndrome.
Syndrome.
So this petechial test is one of the WHO recommended test for the dengue hemorrhagic fever and dengue shock syndrome. That is tourniquet test for dengue. And there will be bleeding from the GIT mucosa, and at the sites of injection also there will be bleeding. And very important is there will be thrombocytopenia, reduced platelet count, so which is usually less than 1.5 lakhs or 1 lakh less than 1 lakh platelets per cubic millimeters. And there are also signs of plasma leak. So this leak of plasma, it will result in what? Accumulation of the fluid in the pleura, leading to what? Pleural effusion, ascites, and hypoproteinemia. So these are the classical features of what? Dengue hemorrhagic fever. Then what are the features of the dengue shock syndrome? So in the dengue shock syndrome, what will be there? There will be circulatory failure, and there will be weak and weak and narrow pulse, and there will be hypotension, and the extremities will be cold and clammy, and the person will be restless because of the hypoxic features. And clinically, what happens is dengue fever, it can have the three courses. One is it will start with the febrile phase, and later it will into second stage, which starts from day 3, and where the patient will be having all the plasma leak or the leaky features will be there, ascites, and the third stage is the recovery phase, where the patient will be showing the signs of recovery. So these are the three clinical courses of the dengue fever. And how do we diagnose the dengue fever? So, very important diagnostic point for this dengue fever is
MS
presence
Valent.
of non-structural viral protein antigen. So, usually this virus, no, it has got structural proteins and non-structural proteins. So, in that non-structural protein 1, if it is detected, then it is a confirmatory for what? Dengue. And it is usually detected in the first week of the illness or on the first day of illness by the ELISA test. And we can also check for the IgM antibodies, which is usually seen 2 to 5 days after the onset of dengue fever. And we can also go for RT-PCR, reverse transcriptase polymerase chain reaction. So these are the three what diagnostic tests that can be used for dengue. Now coming to the dengue vaccine, it is also called as Dengvaxia. Now students, tell me whether this vaccine is currently available in India. Students,
No,
no.
ma'am.
At present, it is not available in India, so still further testing has to be done. So till then, it is not available in India, and usually it is actually approved in the 11 countries, and it is a live recombinant tetravalent. Why it is called as tetravalent? Because dengue has got 4 strains. We already
More
know
strain.
D1, D2, D3, and D4. And in these 4 strains, this D2 is very much highly virulent. So all these 4 strains have been attenuated, and the vaccine has been created. So it is a chimeric vaccine, and all the 4 strains are present. And what is the diluent used for this dengue vaccine? It is,
Sodium chloride.
yeah, sodium chloride or the saline. And what is the strain used over here? CYD-TDV. So, I'll tell you what is this actually. So, remember this CYD-TDV, and the age group that is recommended is 9 to 45 years. Then schedule. So when to give this particular injection? Usually
Three
three
dose.
doses are given, and they are given at an interval of 6 months. Like if
Yes.
today the vaccine is given, dengue vaccine, then after 6 months recall the patient. So for the second dose, and after another 6 months, that is at 12 months, recall for the third dose. So three injections are given, or three doses at 6 months interval. And what is the route of administration? It is given
Subcutaneous.
subcutaneously. Now, how this particular vaccine is produced, very important over here. It is a recombinant. We already just the word itself says that yellow fever vaccine is, strain is there, no? So that 17B strain of the yellow fever, so that virus we take, and in that virus, what we will do, we will replace the pre-membrane and the envelope. For example, if at all this is a virus of yellow fever, in that envelope and the pre-membrane, these two we will remove, and in place of these two, we will put these 4 strains of the dengue virus. Now, what is happening? This is the yellow fever virus, and on top of this yellow fever virus, what we are doing, we are attaching the what these 4 serotypes of which one? Dengue fever causing virus. So it is a recombination is happening over there. And where does this virus is grown? This is very important. It is grown on which one? Yeast cells. That is a fungal cells. that is Picatio pastoris. So it is basically used to grow this particular virus strain. So these points are very important. Remember them. And what is the vaccine efficacy of this dengue vaccine or the dengue vaccine? It is 50 to 76% protection will be given from dengue fever. And remember, students, if at all the person is infected with the dengue, one of the serotype, and if at all if the person is affected with another serotype at the time, so then the person will land up into complications more because of the cross reactivity. Because of what? Cross reactivity. Now, what is the global strategy for dengue prevention and control 2012 to 2020 as per World Health Organization? So, WHO said that let us do some globally some measures to prevent this dengue. So, what it has said is that to reduce the overall burden of dengue. So, how to reduce this overall burden? So, for that, WHO said that we need to reduce the dengue mortality, that is, death caused by the dengue, at least by 50% by the year 2020. So this is one of the basic thing what WHO is targeting. Another specific objective of WHO is we need to reduce the dengue morbidity at least by 25% by the year 2020, and we also reduce the total burden of the dengue as compared to the year 2015. So these are the three goals given by the World Health Organization. Now let us see some of the MCQs related to the dengue. Which of the following statement is true about dengue? Now, very important is that just read the options here, students. Which of the following statement is true about dengue? There will be an increased hematocrit. Is it right or wrong? Himanshu, Satvik, Roshan,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
do you all
Due to
agree with
plasma.
this?
Yes, ma'am.
Smriti? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
It is correct actually. Because what happens because of the leak of the plasma, so what happens will be concentration of the RBCs will be more in the blood. So what
Blood.
happens? The hematocrit value will be increasing. It will be increasing. So it is one of the feature of the dengue. Then decreased platelet. Yes, we already know that there will be
Yes,
thrombocytopenia. It
ma'am.
is one of the feature of the dengue. So this is also right. Then positive tourniquet test.
Yes.
Yes, we already know
Yes,
that
ma'am.
when we tie the tourniquet to the individual and raise the cuff over there, then after 5 minutes, then we can see the petechia in the cubital fossa. This is also correct with the dengue. Then what is the vector over here? Aedes aegypti, which usually bites during the daytime. It is
Yes,
also correct.
correct.
Then trans ovarian transmission. What do you mean by this? Trans ovarian transmission. So, for example, this is the Aedes aegypti mosquito is there. So, if this female mosquito, what happens when it bites and sucks the blood from the individual? So, it will have its blood meal. Then, what happens when it lays the eggs? No, like when this mosquito lays the eggs, this virus will be transmitted from this mother mosquito to what? Its eggs also. That means what? There is a trans ovarian, that is the virus is transmitted even to the eggs also. So that's why it is called as what? Trans ovarian transmission, and it is commonly seen with this what? Aedes aegypti. So now students tell me, now all the options are right, or what is the conclusion over here?
All are true.
All
All
are
are
true.
So all are true, because why I'm stressing on such type of MCQ is PGI Chandigarh. So if you are giving this entrance, I mean examination over there, usually they come out with such type of MCQs. All options will be right, or all options will be wrong, or multiple options will be right. So these are the pattern of questions they usually ask. Yes? Are you all clear with this first question?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Next. All are true about dengue hemorrhagic fever except. Now look at the question over here, except he is asking. So the first option is lamivudine is a drug of choice.
No, ma'am.
It is no. Why? Because it is a
It's antiviral. Viral.
it is antiviral, usually used for what? HIV.
HIV.
So
It,
this option is out of question. Then malnutrition is a protective for dengue fever, hemorrhagic fever. Smriti
No.
and others, do you all agree with this?
yes,
Malnutrition.
ma'am.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
ma'am.
It is correct actually, because why it is correct? Because if the child is malnourished, then what happens? This child
Deficiency of protein on yes,
uh,
ma'am.
is still Roshan.
Deficiency of protein, ma'am, actually.
A deficiency of protein, then what happens? Definitely there will be immune fighting capacity or immunity will be less. Then what happens? There will be like less defense mechanism, so less inflammatory reactions will be there. So malnourished child or malnutrition is one way protective to the individual from the dengue fever. Then it is transmitted by Aedes mosquito. It is also correct. And then causative agent belongs to the Flaviviridae group. So it is also correct. So now which of the following is not true with this dengue hemorrhagic fever except, so which one should we opt here, students?
A
First one.
option.
First one.
Lamivudine is the drug of choice.
Yeah. So the first one is the answer which we need to tick over here. Next. A 20-year-old male is diagnosed as a case of dengue fever at primary health center. What are the suitable measures to be taken for the prevention and control of the dengue in that area? So now look at the question over here. So we need to take care of the individual and we need to take care of the area also. So the question itself is asked like how do you take care of the individual and how do you
Four.
control the dengue in that area? So now what are the things we can think over here? Look at the options. First one is case management. That means we have to treat the person, and vaccination. Vaccination may not be helpful, and as such in India,
Fourth
dengue.
one, ma'am.
Fourth
Fourth
one.
one.
Yes,
Yes,
very
ma'am.
good. So fourth one, what is the option saying? Case management by isolating the individual, and the individual should be protected from the mosquito using the mosquito nets, and there should be environmental measures for the elimination of this Aedes breeding places. So like we are controlling of the environment, taking care of the individual. So these two are given in the option number 4. So 4 is the right answer over here.
Yes, ma'am.
Next. Infective period of Aedes mosquito for classical dengue fever. If the mosquito itself is infected with this dengue virus, then what is the infective period? How long she can be infective? So if she gets infected with the Aedes virus, dengue virus, so she will be infected for what? Lifelong. Till she dies, no? To whomever she bites, no, she will be transmitting that dengue virus. This is very, very important. So infective period of Aedes mosquito for classical dengue fever is what? It is lifelong. Then which of the following statement regarding dengue is correct? Now, serotype 2 is most dangerous. Do you all agree with this?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yeah, we already know that serotype is most virulent as compared to the other three serotypes, and it is endemic. So, dengue is endemic in most of the regions of India, and aspirin is used for the treatment of dengue. So, do we use the aspirin over here,
No,
students?
ma'am.
Why? Smriti and
It's
others, Himanshu.
Ma'am, because it is anticoagulant, it will
antiplatelet.
increase the bleeding.
Because it
Very
causes,
It
ma'am,
increases
more.
hemorrhage. Hemorrhage chances increases.
Yeah, the
Yes,
chance
ma'am.
of hemorrhage will be more because it prevents the platelet aggregation. So then again, the hemorrhagic chances will be more, and dengue will be further worsened if we use what aspirin. Then what should we use over here? Use a plain paracetamol. So it will
Yes,
control the
ma'am.
fever over there or control the pyrexia. And clinical course is more fulminant in children than the adults. That is true. In children, if the dengue is like if it occurs, then it is most dangerous as compared to that of the adults. So, which of the following statement regarding dengue is correct? So, which all options you need to tick over here? We
1, 2, and
already know
4.
that. Huh?
1, 2, and 4.
1, 2, and 4. So, do aspirin means never give aspirin for dengue. Next. Classical dengue fever is transmitted by. Now look at the options over here. It
This
is
Egypt.
transmitted
It is Egypti.
Egypt. So it is a like straightforward question over here.
One liner.
Yeah. If at all the option is given, albopictus, then also it is
Yes,
correct only.
both.
Both will be correct. Now next coming to the another like arthropod borne disease, that is yellow fever. It is also called as what?
Black
Black
vomit.
vomit It is also called as what? American plague. So it is a acute viral hemorrhagic fever, and it is caused by the virus which belongs to the family Flaviviridae, and the genus is Flavivirus, and it belongs to group B, Arbovirus. Again, this particular virus is transmitted by what? By what,
Eddie.
students? It is
Eddie.
transmitted by the
Eddie.
arthropod, and it is a single stranded positive sense, and it is a RNA virus which is an enveloped virus, and it is transmitted by the mosquito and ticks. And in very severe cases, it affects the liver and it affects the kidneys, and it will lead to the what? Death of the individual. So when liver and kidneys affected, then case fatality rate is almost all 100%. So because of the damage to the liver, the patient will appear what? Yellowish in color. So look at the eyes of the sclera, it appears yellow, and the skin also appears yellow. So that's why it is called as what? Yellow fever. And it is very much uh, common in the Central Africa and South and the Central America. So geographic distribution is very important. And in India, as such, till date, there is no yellow fever in India. So India can be said as it is a recipient, because if somebody goes to the Central Africa, look at the map over here, central part of Africa, or if somebody goes to South and Central American countries, that is Brazil, Colombia, all these places, so there are high chances that the person may carry the yellow fever and he may come to India. So India acts as a recipient for what? Yellow fever. You people have to remember this, very very important. And whoever travels to this Central or South America or Central Africa, no, they should be receiving the vaccination for what? Yellow fever. And if we see the transmission cycle of this yellow fever, so they like how it is transmitted. It has got three stages of transmission. One is sylvatic or jungle transmission, because what happens in the forest, sylvatic means what's? Forest. So in the forest, it is this virus is present where? In the monkeys. So if the monkey, infected monkey, what happens if the what if it is bitten by a forest mosquito, that is Hemogogus sipingagi or Aedes africanus or Aedes simpsoni. So these are the forest mosquitoes. If they bite the mosquito, I mean monkey, and then if the human goes to this forest, and if the monkey, I mean if the monkey bites, or even if the mosquito bites to that man, then he may get this yellow fever. So this is what we call it as forest cycle. Then what happens if the person who is infected or bitten by this monkey or by this forest mosquito, and if he enters the city, and in the city, if the again Aedes aegypti, if it bites this individual, and if this Aedes aegypti, if it bites to the another healthy individual, then the cycle will continue. It is called as what? Urban cycle. So just you have to remember that monkey, then forest mosquito, and Aedes aegypti. So these are the three things which are responsible for the transmission of the yellow fever. Yes. Then what is the period of communicability? So in man, it is 3 to 4 days. Like if one person is infected, then what happens? If that person is bitten by the mosquito, then he can transmit it from him to another person. That is within 3 to 4 days. Then mosquito means what happens? If that mosquito is infected, then she can remain infected for lifelong. And what is the incubation period in man? It is 3 to 6 days. Very, very important. Remember this. Related to this, MCQ has been asked. Then, what is the case fatality rate? What do you mean by case fatality rate? Himanshu, Satvik, and others. If the person is affected with the yellow fever, then the chances how much the person will die is case fatality rate. So, what is the case fatality rate? It is 80%. So, there are 80% chances that the individual will be died because of this, can be killed because of this yellow fever. Now look at here. What are the clinical features of this yellow fever? The patient usually presents with what? Headache, fever, and back pain. And as it liver damage happens, then what will happen? There will be yellowish discolorization of the skin, and the patient will complain like hurting pain over the body. And all this will happen within 72 hours or 3 days. And then virus will gradually destroy the liver and gradually the kidneys, and there will be bleeding from the eyes, and there will be bleeding from the nose, mouth, and ultimately the patient will give what? Black
Black
vomit,
bone.
because in GI tract and all internal hemorrhage will be there, because of which the patient will be giving vomiting, which the classic color of the vomit is what? Black vomit. So that's the reason yellow fever is also called as what? Black vomit.
Black bone.
Now, histopathologically, question can be asked related to this, like what is the characteristic feature of this yellow fever histopathologically? So in histopathologically, we can see what? Councilman bodies. So what are these councilman bodies? These are apoptotic bodies, like almost all degrading, like hepatic cells or hepatocytes will be there. They are acidophilic or eosinophilic, and they indicate basically the dying hepatocytes or the liver cells, and it is seen in viral hepatitis and even in the yellow fever. So look at the histopathological picture over here. So these are something like uh, some swollen or the like balloon type of the hepatic cells, which are called as what? Concealment bodies. Now coming to the yellow fever vaccine, it is also called as what? YF vax, and it is a live attenuated lyophilized vaccine. Means what, students? Students, Satvik, Smriti, Roshan, and others, Himanshu. It is a freezed vaccine. It is a freezed vaccine, and it is available in the powdered form. It is available in the powdered form, so you need to mix it with the diluent. So, what is the diluent over here? Cold physiological saline, that is sodium chloride. It should be cold, then you need to mix it with that just before injecting the vaccine. And what is the strain used over here? It is
17D.
17B strain. And where do we grow this? How do you grow this particular 17B strain? It is grown in which one,
Embryo.
students? Chick.
Chick embryo.
Yeah, that is in the hen. In the hen egg, this particular virus is grown, and then using this, the vaccine is produced. So now, very important is that people who are allergic to this chick embryo or the what hen egg, they should not be given this particular yellow fever vaccine, because you need to test and you need to give it over there. Otherwise, they may develop the allergic reaction. It may go to the extent of the anaphylactic shock also. Then after combining it with this diluent, it should be used within half an hour. After half an hour, if you use, it is of no use. And what is the age group recommended for this yellow fever vaccine? It is 9 months or older, or before traveling to any epidemic area. Then what is the dose given? It is 0.5 milliliter. That is a single dose is enough. It should be given subcutaneously, and it is inserted at the site of insertion of deltoid. Yes. Then can we give this yellow fever vaccine during pregnancy, students? Very important question here. Smriti,
Yes,
Rohit,
ma'am.
and others. Yes.
Yes,
If,
ma'am.
like in pregnancy, what happens? Usually it should not be recommended, but if at all the lady is residing in an yellow fever endemic area and
Endemic area.
post, if the benefits are more, then definitely go ahead with giving this yellow fever vaccine. Then do not give this yellow fever vaccine along with cholera vaccine, because what happens, it will interfere with the absorption of the each other. So if you give cholera vaccine and yellow fever vaccine, what will happen, both will interfere with each other, so ultimately the result will be nullified. Then immunity will last from 7 days till 35 years. So today if the vaccination is given, then immunity will start from 7th day, and it will last for how many years, students? 35 years. Then look at this, very important. So in recent NEET questions also, this particular thing has been asked. WHO vaccination certificate for yellow fever. So somebody who is traveling to the international areas, so then what happens? They should receive this yellow fever vaccination. Once the vaccination is received, then the certificate will be given. So that is called as WHO vaccination certificate for international travel. So this certificate is valid for 10 days to lifelong. So, like if somebody receives yellow fever vaccine, so on this day, if it is the day also will be mentioned on this yellow card, and then this certificate will be valid for how many days, students? It is valid for lifelong. Now, let us see some questions related to the yellow fever. So, what is the incubation period of yellow fever? It is within one
3
week,
to 7 days.
3 to
3
6.
to 6 days.
So here, rest of the options are given 3 to 4 weeks, 1 to 2 weeks. These are all wrong. So what is the right option over here? 3 to 6 days. Only if at all, if the question is mentioned only 6 days means, then also it is correct. Then all are features of the yellow fever except. So usually we already know that 80% of the cases it is asymptomatic or subclinical. So this is correct, right? Most of
Second one,
Yeah, second one is fatality rate more than 90%. So
80%.
yeah, what is the case fatality rate?
80%.
80%.
80%. But the second option it is saying that if somebody is infected, nearly 90% chance of death will occur. So this is wrong actually. Now, one attack will give lifelong immunity. So, do you all
Yes.
agree with this? Yes, if
Yes,
the
ma'am.
person is infected once, then lifelong immunity will be there. That is correct. Then, hepatic and renal involvement is seen in severe cases. It is also correct. So, which of the following is feature of dengue? I mean, yellow fever except. So, which should be your option? It should be
Second.
second one. Next. All are true for yellow fever except. Again, the question is asked except only. So, first question given is causative agent belongs to flavivirus. We already know, right? It belongs to which group of virus? Flavivirus. It is
Flavivirus.
correct.
Group
Then
B.
case fatality is 80%. So now
Yes.
here
Third
this,
ma'am.
yeah, it is correct. Validation of vaccination certificate
Third.
begins after 10 days and lasts till 10 years. So do you think
Lifelong.
it is wrong actually? It is for
Yes.
lifelong.
Yes, yes, yes.
Person receives the yellow fever vaccine, then the certificate is valid for how many days? It is for lifelong validity will be there. So this third one is wrong actually. Then incidence increased by humidity. So what do you mean by this? Wherever the area is humid, then what happens? It favors the breeding of these mosquitoes. So if the Aedes mosquito is more, then chances of this having this yellow fever is also high. So option 1, 2, and 4 are correct except for which one? Third one. So which one will you opt over here, students? Third
Third.
option. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, which of the following statements about yellow fever is not correct? Again, the question is asked, which of the following is not correct?
Incubation period is 16 to 46 days.
Yeah, because it is very long. No? Incubation period. What is the incubation period for yellow fever students? It is only within 1 week, right? It is 3 to 6 days. So we already know that. So here third option is saying 16 to 46 days. It is absolutely wrong. Then India is a yellow fever receptive area. So we
Yes,
already
ma'am.
know this. In India, as such, there is no yellow fever. So this is very important point to be noted. And then if at all if it happens, then it is like an emergency situation. Then one
Fourth
attack of
one
yellow
also.
fever gives lifelong immunity. This is also correct. And
Fourth.
fourth one,
Fourth one
see
is
here.
false.
The validity of yellow fever vaccination certificate begins after 10 days and till 5 years. So this is also wrong.
Wrong.
So
Wrong.
now you should be careful over here. Don't only one option is wrong, but second option is also wrong over here. So you need to tick for both the options here. 3 and 4 are the options which you need to tick it over here. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Next. Which of the following is not true regarding dengue vaccine? So here what the question is asked about, it is asked related to what? Dengue vaccine. So now again not true he is asking. Yeah.
Fourth
So
one.
fourth
Fourth
one.
option.
So do you think dengue vaccine currently is available in India? No. As such it is not there, then how can be recommended for national immunization schedule? So this is wrong actually. And it is a live attenuated vaccine and 3 doses are required at 6 months interval. And first one and second one, these are all correct or wrong? These are all correct only. Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
students.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
So dengue vaccine, it is a tetravalent vaccine. Remember here, it contains all the 4 strains: D1, D2, D3, and D4. And this is a strain that is used. Next, which of the following is not true regarding yellow fever vaccine? Again, now question is asked regarding which one, students? Now again we have come to which one? Yellow fever vaccine. It can be administered in pregnancy. Yes.
Second one.
Yeah. Immunization lasts from 7 days till 35 years. It is also correct. Then the strain used is which one? 17D strain. It is also correct. Then where it is grown, students, if
Ma'am,
you
C
students
Cambridge.
Satvik and others, Himanshu, Smriti,
C
Roshan,
Cambridge. C Cambridge.
chick,
grown in yeast, very very important. In the yeast, no, that fungi, this particular what yellow fever strain is grown 17D strain. So this fourth option is wrong actually. It is not grown in bacteriophage. It is grown in which one? Yeast. So this point you need to remember. Whereas our this dengue vaccine is cultured in where? In the chick embryo or the hen embryo or the hen egg. You need to remember. Yes, are you all clear with the yellow fever and the dengue? So now we will move to the next one, acute respiratory tract infection. That is ARIS. So now acute respiratory tract infection, it is nothing but the inflammation of the respiratory tract. And we know that the respiratory tract, it contains upper respiratory tract, which includes nasal cavity, pharynx and the larynx. And it involves a lower respiratory tract, which includes trachea, then bronchi and main lungs. So acute and lower respiratory tract infections together, we call it as what? Acute respiratory tract infections. So upper respiratory tract infections, like common examples are what, students? Common cold, pharyngitis, epiglottitis, otitis media. These are all the examples for AURI, that is acute upper respiratory tract infection. Then ALRI, that is acute lower respiratory tract infection. Examples are laryngitis, laryngotracheitis, bronchitis, pneumonia. Among these, which is the most dangerous one or dreadful one? Pneumonia. So all these together we call it as what? Acute respiratory tract infections. Now here in this we will focus mostly on this pneumonia. This pneumonia is basically caused by bacteria, virus and fungi, but most commonly it is caused by the microorganism. So here what happens, there will be inflammation of the alveoli or the lung tissue. So because of this inflammation, what will happen? The water or the inflammatory fluid will accumulate into the lung, and this results in what? Difficulty in breathing. So usually what is the thing over here? The alveoli, whatever is there, the healthy alveoli, they are wrapped with which one? They are wrapped with what? Capillaries. Yes, and where the gas exchange will occurs. Now what happens when these alveoli are destroyed by the microorganisms? So there will be inflammation, and this finally results in what? Pneumonia. Now, if we see what are the common viruses that causes pneumonia, so the most common virus is which one, students? It is influenza group of viruses. And bacteria, the most commonly causing bacteria is which one? Streptococcus pneumonia. So Streptococcus pneumonia, it is most commonly involved with which one? Community acquired pneumonia. Students, do you all agree with this? It is most commonly linked with community acquired pneumonia. So other than this, there are other type of microorganisms that cause pneumonia, that is Legionella pneumonia, Chlamydia pneumonia. So these all causes what? Walking pneumonia. Because this patient is having pneumonia but is comfortable in walking over there. And some fungi which can cause the pneumonia, that is Coccidioidomycosis, Histoplasmosis, Blastomycosis. So just remember these organisms' names. Now, how do we categorize this pneumonia? So, based on the nature, how it is acquired. So, community acquired pneumonia. Like if it is a community, is there one-to-one transmission will be there. So, it is community acquired pneumonia. Then, hospital acquired pneumonia. Why we call it as nosocomial hospital acquired is more serious. Students, why do you call it is more serious?
Because they are resistant against many drugs.
Very good. Because in hospital, what happens? Multiple drugs will be there, and like this organisms that cause pneumonia in the hospital session, they are resistant to many drugs. So it is very difficult to treat them, and sometimes ventilator-associated pneumonia. So these are the three different categories of pneumonia. Or pneumonia can be categorized into aspiration pneumonia, like as because of the food aspiration or something we drink and if it aspirates into the lungs, even it can cause the pneumonia, or gastric contents also can get aspirated. Or it can be bronchopneumonia where entire chunk of the lung is involved, or it can be interstitial or atypical pneumonia, or it can be lobar pneumonia. Only one lobe of the lung is involved, then we call it as what? Lobar pneumonia. So, which is the most common organism linked with the lobar pneumonia? It is Streptococcus pneumoniae. Now we will see the categories. How do you categorize this acute respiratory infections? There are three categories are there. So and for each category, color coding is given. So related to this, some MCQs can be asked. So what are the types of the acute respiratory infections? So when do you say the person is having no pneumonia? So when do we say? When there is only cold or cough without any like what indrawing of the chest or without any stridor. So when these two things are absent, then only simple cold is there or the child is coughing, then we can say that there is no pneumonia. So what is the line of management over here? So you can manage that individual or the child at the home itself. So prescribe the patient bronchodilators for 5 days and use some sore throating agents and give some agents that relieve the cough. And if the cough is more than for 14 days, then refer the patient for tuberculosis checking, or if at all there is a recurrent wheeze, then ask the patient to go ahead with checking for the asthma. Then inform the mother to come for follow up if the symptoms are not improving. And what is the color coding given over here? Roshan, others?
Green.
Green color. So if a child comes to you only with the complaint of cough or cold, then you categorize that child as what? No pneumonia case.
No
There is no
pneumonia.
pneumonia. And what is the management? At home only we can manage. Just prescribe bronchodilators and throat soothing agents and ask the mother to come after 5 days only if the symptoms are not improving. Yes. Then, if this child comes with the symptoms of chest indrawing, so when the baby breathes, because there is a difficulty in breathing, what happens? Especially the lower rib portion. So there will be indrawing of the portion of the chest, it will be gone inside. So that we call it as chest indrawing. And there will be respiratory rate more than 50 respiratory rate per minute. So if the respiratory rate is more than 50, and if the child is more than 2 to 12 months, that is within 1 year, so then we can call it as pneumonia. Or if the respiratory rate is more than 40, provided that the child is 1 year to 5 years of age. So 1 year to 5 years of age, if the respiratory rate is more than 40, or if less than 2 months to within 1 year of age, if the respiratory rate is 50, then you categorize the child as pneumonia. Now, what is the line of management? At the primary health center, you give orally amoxicillin for 5 days and give the child bronchodilators for 5 days and give some cough suppressants and throat soothing agents and ask the mother to come for follow up within 2 to 3 days. This is very important, and advise the mother to return immediately if the situation worsens. So these are the points you need to remember, because related to this the MCQs are asked. So if you categorize the child as having pneumonia, then you put the label the child under which color? Yellow category. And when you say the child is having severe pneumonia or very severe pneumonia, when there is stridor, this is very important. That is a noise that is heard. So a stridor is heard in a calm child along with chest indrawing. And if there are present of some danger signs, what are the danger signs, students, here? Can you all see the slide, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
What are the danger signs to say the child is having severe or very severe pneumonia? That is inability to breathe,
Reluctant to feed.
reluctant to feed, and if at all there is a history of convulsion, or if the child is convulsing now, or if the child is unconscious or lethargy. So, if at all any one of these feature or few of these or all the features are present, then you put the child under the category of severe pneumonia or very severe pneumonia. And what is the color designated for this, students? It is given which color? Pink color. Then what is the line of treatment? Here we can't do anything in our PHC, so we need to refer the child to the higher health center, that is community health center or any higher hospital or bigger hospital. And what we have to do, give a first dose of referral antibiotic. It is intramuscularly, and we need to treat this child to prevent the low sugar and advise the mother how to keep the child warm. So these are the things what we do for a case of severe pneumonia. Next, fast breathing. So when do we say that the child is having the fast breathing? So these are the certain things given by the WHO, World Health Organization. Just remember them because MCQs are asked related to this also. If the child is 1 year to 5 years old, and if the respiratory rate is more than 40 per minute, then you classify it has pneumonia. So you just observe the child. If there are more than 40 respiratory rate per minute, then it is pneumonia. If the child is 2 to 12 months, that is within 1 year, if it is an infant, then and the respiratory rate is more than 50 per minute, then again you categorize as pneumonia. If the child is too young, that is what 2 months, and the respiratory rate is more than 60, then you categorize the baby as which one, students? Very severe pneumonia. Now look at the picture over here. What does it indicates?
In drawing of chest.
Chest,
Chest in drawing.
chest in drawing. So what are the classic features of pneumonia over here, students? Cough will be there, then fever will be there. Then apart from that, what will be there? Chest in drawing. Then respiratory rate will be more. Then apart from that, in very severe thing, what will be there?
Strider.
Stridor. Then these are the classical features of what? Pneumonia. Now let us see the MCQ over here. A child aged 24 months. 24 months means what? The baby is how many years old here?
Yes.
It is
2
2
years.
years old. And the baby is brought to primary health center with a complaint of cough and fever for the past 2 days. And on examination, the child weight is how much? 11 kgs. And the respiratory rate is 38 per minute. Now just look at the criteria over here. If the child is 12 months, that is 1 to 5 years, what should be the respiratory rate to say it is pneumonia? At
Greater
least
than 40.
40. So here the baby is having respiratory rate of how much? 38
38.
per minute. And chest indrawing is also present. So then definitely it is a case of pneumonia. We already know it.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
what is the most appropriate line of management for this patient? So what is the line of management? We need to decide it over here. So first classify it as pneumonia and refer urgently to second level of hospital,
No,
or
ma'am.
classify as pneumonia, start antibiotics and report after 2 days, or
Second
class.
option.
Yeah, now
Second one.
you people only should tell me.
Second one.
Second option.
So it is a straightforward question. It is a second one because baby is two with like it is 2 years old, and its respiratory rate is in a okay level where we can manage it. So it is a severe type of pneumonia. Chest indrawing, it is a pakka. Yeah. So and we can give the patient with antibiotics and ask the patient to come after 2 days. So what is the answer over here?
Second one.
Second one. Most important feature to diagnose severe pneumonia. So what is the most important feature here, students?
Chest in drawing.
Test in drink.
Very good, excellent. So chest indrawing is very important feature to diagnose the patient as having a severe pneumonia. Nasal flaring and all these are the other features. And fast breathing is also one of the feature, but very important classic feature to say it is a severe pneumonia, it is chest indrawing. Next, fast breathing in a 6 months old infant is taken as
60 breaths. Greater than 60
60.
breaths per minute.
Better than
60 or
60.
50.
60.
Now again we will go back to the table over here. Look at
Oh, sorry.
here.
50, 50.
50. Greater than 50.
See,
50.
if the baby is less than 2 months, more than 60 per minute, it is like very severe pneumonia. But 2 months to 12 months, that is 1 year of age, more than 50, we can say that it is pneumonia. So that's why look at the age, then only you have to confirm it here. So it is more than 2 months, right? It is a 6 months old baby.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
its respiratory rate should be which one?
50.
Greater than
More
50.
than
Greater than
50.
50.
If at all it is asked the baby is less than 2 months of age, then you can definitely tick for which
60.
one? 60. So be careful over here. Look at the age, then you tick for the options.
Yes, ma'am.
Next, respiratory rate can be diagnosed as fast breathing in a less than 2 month old infant if respiratory rate is more than.
59. 59.
It's a
59.
straightforward question. Now it should be there in your mind. Baby, 2 months, less than 2 months old, it should be more than 60 per minute, then it is severe pneumonia. Right? If it is more than 2 months old, within 1 year, it should be
50.
50 per minute.
Mhm.
Next. Now we will have some important features related to the Streptococcus pneumoniae. Like some MCQs are asked related to the Streptococcus pneumoniae. It is what? It is a gram-positive capsulated organism and it is lancet shaped. Students, can you all see it over here? Streptococcus pneumoniae, it is lancet shaped. So it has got extremities which are something like a flame shaped over here. And usually it occurs in the pairs and it is an alpha hemolytic streptococci. What do you mean by alpha hemolytic? It partially breaks down the hemoglobin. Uh, can you all hear me, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
and it is a non-motile and facultative anaerobe. That means what? Even in the presence or absence of oxygen, this fellow can survive, and it doesn't produce any spores, and it is optician sensitive because no, like if you put that particular optician, it will be totally killed, and there won't be any growth of this particular Streptococcus pneumonia in the culture media. Whereas Streptococcus viridans, it is optician resistant. Even though we put that optician, it will keep on growing because it has no effect on that particular this optician. Then this particularly infects the young and the old individuals, and it is usually common causative factor for the bacteremia, meningitis, and otitis media. And penicillin G is a drug of choice. Remember this. And an alternative whoever is like having resistance to this penicillin G or who are like having allergic to this penicillin G, they can be given which one? Ceftriaxone. So it is an alternate choice. So in examination they can ask you like which is the first line of treatment for this Streptococcus pneumoniae. And what are the virulent factors? So, because of what this particular organism is showing its virulence, it is because of the capsule. So, this organism has got a nice capsule on that. Yes, then it has got pali, and also these are like extensions, and it also got fimbriae. So, all this capsule and this pili, fimbriae, they all act as what? Virulent factors for this particular streptococcus. And apart from that, it produces two toxins. What are those toxins? IgA protease and pneumolysine. So these are the toxins that are produced by this particular organism. And very important is that any capsulated organism, they produce what? Mucin. They produce what? Mucin. So whenever it affects the respiratory tract, then what happens? Wherever it goes, the area wherever it infects, it produces the mucus. So this organism will be nicely covered by the mucus, so that what happens? Our defense cells, they won't be able to reach this, cross this mucus and kill this organism. So this is the way how these organisms will be protecting themselves, and where our host will be what failed to kill this organism. Now coming to the pneumococcal vaccine. So this Streptococcus pneumoniae, to control this, there is a vaccine. So what is the name of that vaccine? It is called as what?
Pneumococcal
Pneumococcal,
conjugate vaccine.
yeah, pneumococcal vaccine. So to whom it is recommended? It is recommended for the children below 2 years and who are above 65 years or who are at a risk of developing the pneumococcal pneumonia. That is who are diabetic, who are HIV positive cases, or who are having cancer, or who are having sickle cell disease, or whose spleen is not functional. So people with all these conditions, like this pneumococcal vaccine is indicated, because this can be asked as a MCQ for pneumococcal vaccine indication. And this vaccine is of two types. So what are the two types of pneumococcal vaccine? It is a pneumococcal polysaccharide vaccine, that is PPV, pneumococcal polysaccharide vaccine 23. So what does it means? It contains 23 purified capsular antigens. We know that this particular organism, it contains what? Capsule. So there are so many, more than 90 strains are present. So in that 23 strains, which commonly infect the humans, so those strains capsular protein is taken and it has made like what, a virulent. So using those 23 strains capsule, this virus has been, I mean, this vaccine has been produced. And it is most commonly recommended in whom? It is recommended in adults, and sometimes we can give in children also. The second type of pneumococcal vaccine. What is that second type of pneumococcal vaccine?
Pneumococcal conjugate vaccine.
It is pneumococcal conjugate vaccine. So what is the strain over used over here? It is PCV 13, pneumococcal conjugated vaccine 13. So why it is said as conjugated, students? Here what we are doing is we are taking a part of the pneumococcal strain number 13 capsule, and then we are just joining it with which one? Non-toxic diphtheria toxin. So the diphtheria toxin, whatever is there, so that toxin we are just mixing it with which one? This strain number 13 of this pneumococci. So using that we are creating this pneumococcal conjugated vaccine. So PCV 13, this you have to remember. So right now in the world, PCV 10 strain and PCV 13 strain are recommended, but earlier PCV 7 strain was there. Now WHO has said that it is of not much effective in controlling this thing. So better not to use this particular PCV 13, I mean 7 strain. And it is usually recommended for whom? Young children. Now look at this pneumococcal polysaccharide vaccine. So pneumococcal polysaccharide vaccine PPV 23. So what is the dose given? It is 0.5 ml subcutaneously or intramuscularly. And what is the trade name for this pneumococcal polysaccharide vaccine? It is Pneumovax. It is what, students? It is Pneumovax. Then another type of pneumococcal is conjugated vaccine. Usually it is conjugated with diphtheria. So that is CRM197 protein. Just remember this. They may not ask you, but if at all, if the luck turns to the other side, they may ask you what is the diphtheria toxin strain used. It is CRM197 protein. So what is the trade name over here? Prevenar 13. And it is given how much? 0.5 ml, and it is given intramuscularly. Now let us see some of the MCQs related to this pneumococcal pneumonia. Which of the following is a feature of pneumococcal pneumonia? So which of the following, students? Are you all there?
Predilection for lower lobe.
Yeah, very good. So pneumococcal pneumonia, it has got higher predilection for which one? Lower lobe of the lungs. So this is a correct. But abscess formation, cavitation, pleural effusion, these are not common with the pneumococcal pneumonia. So they are commonly seen with which one? Klebsiella. Next. Which of the following is not a WHO recommendation for PCV to infants? Like a pneumococcal vaccine. So, which of the following is not a recommendation given by WHO? So, what is the dosage here? What is the first option? Look here. 3 primary doses and 1 booster dose. So, what is this? The 3P? 3P indicates 3 primary doses and 1 booster dose. Is it correct? What is the dose recommendation for this pneumococcal vaccine? It is 3 primary dose and 0 booster dose. That is, if we give 3 primary doses at a 4 weeks interval, that is more than enough. So the first option is wrong. Or we can give the schedule of 2 primary doses plus 1 booster dose. 1 booster dose. So this is also the recommended schedule for this pneumococcal vaccine. Remember this schedule. And it can be given at the age of 6 weeks, and it is recommended for HIV and preterm babies. Yes, it is also correct. And
These
PCV
also
13
correct.
and PCV 10. So these are the two strains that are used for this vaccine. So it is also correct.
Yes.
Now, students, now you should only answer for this question. Which of the following is not related to this pneumococcal vaccine? Which is the
A.
wrong statement over here?
A.
A. So what is the dosage for this? 3p plus 1
Plus
or 2p
2p
plus 1. So sorry, 3p
3p plus
plus
0.
0 is fine. Which of the following protects the individual from pneumonia? So which of the following protects the individual from pneumonia? So which of the now look at the options over here. Pneumonia, we already know that already I told you there are many bacteria, virus and the fungi
Yes.
which causes the
HIV
pneumonia.
vaccine.
So
HIV
Hib B
vaccine.
vaccine, fine. Even in your national immunization schedule, it is said that this vaccination protects the infant from the or the child from pneumonia. So this gives protection. Then what about this OPV vaccination? What is this OPV?
Oral polio vaccine.
Oral polio vaccine. So do you think it gives the protection? No.
No.
What about the
Measles.
measles vaccine? Do you
No.
think measles vaccine give protection for pneumonia?
No.
Students, Roshan, Smriti, others,
No.
does it give the protection?
No.
No, it
Only
measles vaccine it gives the protection because one of the most common complication after the measles infection is what? Pneumonia. So measles vaccination if you give it gives a protection for pneumonia. It is correct actually. Then vector control. So does the vector control has got any relation to this pneumonia? No, because it is a purely an airborne or respiratory linked disease. So definitely vector control or controlling the mosquito has got no link over the prevention of the or protection for pneumonia. So which are the options over here? Hep
A and
B
C.
and measles vaccine. So these are the things which gives protection for which one? Pneumonia. So I'll stop it here. So next class I'll continue with the rest of the communicable diseases. Yes?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.